Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Pete Ulibarri, and today we're going to discuss footwork in the disc golf throw. Our main objective today is for you to feel the ground underneath your feet, for you to feel what is a good position possibly and what is a negative position possibly. We want you to be able to get into proper body position, and I want you to be able to feel how some footwork positions lead us into bad form and also into positions where we end up rounding tremendously. And it has to do with our feet and not so much with our upper body. In our following lesson, that's going to conclude this series, I'm going to show you how that footwork below connects to the upper body above and how we'll use both sides of that to create limits so that we can start falling into form that's going to help us be super accurate and also gain power and timing. So let's step right into the next thing. Pardon the pun. All right, so what I want from you here is I'm going to have you stand shoulder width apart over the balls of your feet. Imagine reaching down and picking up a weight. We're over the balls of our feet, knees over toes, nose over knees and toes. We're balanced, okay? Then we're going to take our off foot and we're going to move it behind our body. We're going to go from here to here, staggered stance. We're going to leave room so this back foot can transfer for next step. So now we started here, square, back. Next, I want you to take a natural fluid swing here. We're just going to go through our position. We're going to feel a little bit of fluidity in our swing. Now I want you to take your back foot, your off foot, and I want you to turn it 90 degrees away. So we're going to make this position. This foot's going to turn to this. Now what I want you to feel is how your contact with the ground limits your body in specific ways. So let's go back into our position for throwing. You're going to find that as you go to reach back, well, of course, because this knee doing this opens our hips majorly to the back part of our swing. We can get really far back and around our body, but when we make a move towards the target, we're going to find there's a lot of knee pressure. A lot of hip isn't allowed to move because we've bound the hip to our offside. And so we could probably guess that this is probably not the position we want our knee in or our foot. So let's move it back to square, perpendicular. Let's do it in a 45 degrees. So let's move our foot to about 45 degrees, okay? Let's go through the same motion. Well, even if I'm picking up my toes and staying balanced over my feet, when I make this motion, I still feel bound up. I can still get too far around my body here in the backswing. I want you to feel that. You can get around. So this right here still has our hip too far open, and it has our hip open just simply because we're using our joints to open and close movements in our body. So this right here, you're going to find when you go to make a movement toward the target, there's still a little bit of pinching in the knee. There's tension there. There's tension towards the foot. It doesn't really want to allow us to turn toward the target. So let's go back to square, over the balls of our feet. And we're going to go an extreme opposite now. We're going to take this foot and we're going to turn it inside 45 degrees. Your off foot goes inside 45 degrees. Now these exercises, like I said, please just do them very slow. Our whole point is to feel where the tension in our body is and how it limits our body in specific ways. So back to our throw, we're going to find that when you go to reach back, you're bound up. You can't get back here now. It feels like everything wants, instead of coming on a line backwards, we get bound up towards the open side of our backswing. But when we make a turn towards the target, well, we have the ability to open up a lot. So we would all pretty much agree, I think, that this is probably not the most optimum position for the disc golf throw. So let's come back to square. We're going to do the same thing now, same exercise. We're going to go to our plant foot. We're going to take this plant foot, we're staggered stance, and you're going to open up this foot to 90 degrees. This, see this? This movement. Now let's see what happens. Back into our kind of a gentle throwing position. You're going to feel that right here, you have the ability to make a move towards the target pretty open, but when you go to do a reach back, of course, this doesn't want to allow us to turn. We've limited our hip, the ability to go back. We're going to feel inside pressure on our knee, and our foot is anchored to the ground. We cannot get to a reach back efficiently. We get limited. So this is probably not the position we want to be in to have a good disc golf throw. So let's bring it back to square. Let's take it to 45. Okay, 45 degrees. We're gonna go like this, 45 degrees. Now let's try it. Well, if we make our swing, we can see that we have a little bit more mobility towards the back of our swing, but we're still kind of anchored, still kind of limited to get here. And when we come to the hit point, well, our space is opened up still to our away from our line, away from perpendicular to the line of our throw. So let's take our foot back to square. Let's do the same thing. Let's be dramatic and let's move that front foot in about 45 degrees. Now let's see what happens. 45 degrees, we move back. Well, we can get, I feel the ability to get to the back part of my swing pretty easily, and it actually allows me to open up around my body more. But when I come through this part, you're gonna feel that you're bound up. You're gonna feel that when you get to your hit point, it feels blocked off. And if we were to make a throw in this position, we would find that our throw would leave early. We would be blocked off. The right side or our offside towards our target is blocked off, and we would miss our shot inside. So this is probably not the optimum position for a disc golf throw. So with this, I just wanted you to feel where maybe your feet should be. Let's try and keep our feet for our exercise today somewhere within this 22.5 degrees. What would be a quarter turn of 90 forward, quarter turn of 90 back. You could even have this one quarter turn in here a little bit, like this. But we don't want to be extremes and we don't want to be here. The main thing that we want to understand is what is then good footwork? The most common mistake in the X step is that people step too far. And what that looks like is this. They go X. Now what is this position that I'm in? This is exactly the first position we started off with in our exercise. This back foot, instead of going parallel with our lead foot, it moves towards a 90 degrees. And well, we figured out that from this position, it's really hard to make it move towards the target. So when we start here, X, and we come to here, well, now the only way to get towards our target is to unhinge this part. And what does that look like? That looks like this. This has to come around our body to get towards the target. The second thing that happens in this situation is when we go into this X step improperly, we land toe and then we rotate to heel on this foot. And that builds tremendous energy towards our target. It feels like we're getting a lot of power. But what happens is we build momentum to our target, but now we've got to catch that momentum somehow. But we've got to catch that momentum while we fly around our body. So we go like this, we go X, momentum, and then we have to catch it. Look where my foot just landed naturally by having to move from here to here. I ended up moving into what is the second half of our exercise of my front foot landing too far forward, too far open in the 90 almost towards our target. So we end up landing anywhere from 45 to 90. So in the X step, if we start with an X step that lands this way, our back foot lands instead of parallel or somewhere in here, it lands like this. Well, when we go to make this step forward, our hip gets locked right here and our body has to go like this to catch it. And we end up with almost an equal and opposite on our front foot. The problem with landing equal and opposite on our front foot is now we ended up rounding throughout our entire shot to get to the throw, but then we end up with a lot of front pressure on our knee. We end up having to catch all of that weight with our joint. We don't want to catch the weight of our throw, the weight of our body with the joint. We want to catch it with the brace, with the strength of our leg. So we want the strength of our leg, not the joint, capturing our weight. If we capture the weight with just our front knee, with the front of our knee catching this weight and stopping us, well, we lose all of that energy into the suspension that our knee is giving us, into the suspension that's in our leg, and we lose all that energy and we round and throw out the front. So the number one thing that we see, an improper X step leads us into automatic rounding. So we want the X step to come through. We don't need it to go super far. If you're standing in a mirror or you're standing in a window and you can see your foot movement, I want this X step to go here and trade. So we want to be able to stay balanced through the fluidity of our steps. In our next video, we're going to make a connection between our footwork and our upper body. That is going to give us some very cool things like a limit on how to limit our X step from going too far. It also helps us find timing, natural timing that your body already knows. It just seems to be counterintuitive because our body moves laterally through the disc golf throw. So please like and subscribe below. Leave some comments. I love interacting with the comments. Let me know what's working for you. Let me know if you have any other questions that we can answer. And in the next video, we're gonna have some really cool answers. See you guys in the next one.